The rifle felt wrong in Lieutenant Maya Brennan's hands. Too heavy, too cold. Designed for death, not for preserving life. She'd spent 13 months in Afghanistan and never touched her weapon. Not once. Never fired it. Now it was the only thing between 35 wounded soldiers and the enemy fighters closing in. Through the firing port, she watched 8 enemy fighters approaching the aid station. AK-47s, PKM machine guns, RPGs. They saw the medical bunker as an easy target. Kill the wounded, eliminate medical capability, demoralize the firebase. Maya looked at the rifle's weight. At 13 years of everything she believed, violence was never the answer. Never kill, only heal, only protect. But now, protecting meant killing. Before the first enemy fighter reached the entrance, Maya Brennan had to make a decision. Stay true to her beliefs and watch 35 men die. Or pick up the rifle and become someone she'd never been. For 13 years. Her hands shook. She didn't even know where the safety was. But she raised the weapon. Before we show you this story, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from and hit subscribe. Because what you're about to witness isn't just about survival. This is about how one woman broke everything she believed to save 35 lives and how it changed her forever. Lieutenant Maya Brennan never felt like she belonged until she didn't. 27 years old, 13 months deployed, 142 lives saved, 0 rounds fired. She hadn't joined the army like everyone else. She didn't come to fight. She came to heal. She'd grown up in a Quaker family in Pennsylvania, a pacifist religion that rejected violence in all forms. Her grandfather had protested the Vietnam War. Her father had refused to go to Vietnam as a conscientious objector. Maya hadn't seen a single toy gun her entire childhood, but she couldn't afford medical school, and the Army could. In basic training, when weapon qualification came, Maya refused. "I don't shoot," she told her instructor, calm but firm. "This isn't a request, Private. This is an order. Respectfully, sir, my religious beliefs don't permit it. I applied to be a combat medic. Medical personnel carry weapons too, Private. This is the Army, not a church." She almost got kicked out. Almost. But she'd found a lawyer, petitioned for a religious exemption, 6 months of bureaucracy, countless hearings. Eventually, for the first time in history, the Army allowed a medic to serve without weapon qualification. The condition? She'd never be assigned to a combat role. Only hospitals on bases. Only safe zones. That agreement lasted 3 months. Then Firebase Khe Sanh, which was supposed to have 400 soldiers, was down to 180. Security threats increased. Every medic was needed. Maya found herself at a firebase. Fortifications, wire, mortar fire every night. And an M4 rifle standing in the corner of her tent that she never touched. But nobody cared because Maya Brennan was an incredibly good medic. Shrapnel wounds, gunshot wounds, traumatic amputations from IED blasts. She stayed calm, focused, kept people alive. The Rangers trusted her. They knew if they went down, Maya would reach them, no matter how intense the fire. She didn't need a weapon. Her medical skill was her weapon, until that Tuesday morning at 6:30. Firebase Khe Sanh had been taking light sniper fire for 3 hours. Harassing fire. Nothing serious, the kind that happened most days in Kunar province. Then the mortars started. Not the usual random rounds, but accurate, sustained fire that suggested someone had pre-registered coordinates and was walking explosions across the firebase with methodical precision. Maya was in the aid station, a reinforced bunker that served as the medical treatment facility for Firebase Khe Sanh. With her were 35 wounded Rangers from a patrol that had hit an IED the previous night. Broken bones, concussions, shrapnel wounds, nothing immediately life-threatening, but enough injuries that they couldn't fight effectively. Staff Sergeant Marcus Yates, the senior medic, was treating the worst casualties. Maya was managing the walking wounded, monitoring vitals, distributing pain medication. The mortars found the aid station on their 3rd salvo. The round didn't penetrate. The bunker was designed to withstand indirect fire, but the explosion was close enough that dust rained from the ceiling, and several wounded Rangers cried out from the concussion. Then the mortars shifted to the perimeter defenses, and through the narrow firing ports, Maya could see the fire base's defensive positions being systematically hammered. Staff Sergeant Yates looked at her with the kind of expression medics get when they realize a bad situation is about to get worse. They're softening us up for an assault. Get the wounded ready to move if we need to evac. Maya started organizing, prioritizing patients by mobility, preparing trauma supplies for rapid transport, working through the checklist that training had drilled into her. Professional, focused, doing what medics did when combat escalated. Then the fire base's defensive perimeter exploded. Not metaphorically, literally exploded as demolition charges blew gaps in the wire and sandbag walls. Through the gaps came enemy fighters, dozens of them armed with AK-47s and PKM machine guns, moving in coordinated assault teams that suggested professional military training. The fire base's defenders engaged immediately, Rangers firing from defensive positions, machine guns opening up, the disciplined fire of American infantry trying to stop an assault that had numerical superiority and had achieved tactical surprise. But the mortars had done their job. Several defensive positions were damaged, communications were disrupted, and the enemy was inside the perimeter before a coordinated defense could be organized. Staff Sergeant Yates grabbed Maya's arm. "I need to get to the command bunker. They're calling for medics. You stay here with the wounded. Lock it down. Don't open for anyone unless they give the proper challenge code." "Sergeant, That's an order, Brennan. These men can't defend themselves. You keep them alive until we can organize a counterattack." Yates grabbed his aid bag and ran toward the door, heading into chaos that was visible through the firing ports. Rangers fighting at close range, explosions, smoke, the kind of combat that looked like every training scenario they'd warned you about. Maya locked the aid station door behind him and returned to her patients. 35 wounded Rangers, none of them combat effective, all of them dependent on the aid station remaining secure. She checked her M4. Loaded, safety on, ready if needed. But probably wouldn't be needed because the Rangers outside would stop the assault before it reached the medical bunker. That optimism lasted about 60 seconds. The fire-base defenders were putting up fierce resistance, but the enemy assault was overwhelming. Too many fighters moving too fast through multiple breaches. Maya watched American positions get overrun, Rangers falling back toward the center of the fire base, the defensive perimeter collapsing inward. One of the wounded Rangers, Private First Class Tommy Garcia, with a leg wound that had him on crutches, hobbled over to the firing port and looked out. "Oh God, they're coming this way." Maya looked. He was right. A group of at least 12 enemy fighters had broken away from the main assault and were moving toward the aid station. They knew it was there, knew it was full of wounded, saw it as an easy target. The aid station had one entrance, a reinforced door that could be locked from inside but wouldn't stop sustained fire or explosives. It had 4 firing ports, narrow slits designed for observation and emergency defense. And it had Specialist Maya Brennan, 35 wounded Rangers, 1 M4 rifle, and about 45 seconds before enemy fighters reached the door. Maya looked at the rifle, at 13 years, at all her beliefs, and looked at the men approaching the door. The math was simple. Do nothing equals 35 men die. Do something, 13 years of faith dies. But maybe 35 men live. "God forgive me," she whispered. She picked up the rifle. Maya Brennan had never once in her life even considered firing a weapon. In basic training, she'd attended demonstrations, watched other people fire, but never herself. Now she moved to the firing port with the best angle, trying to find where the safety was. Hands shaking. She aimed at the lead fighter. 40 meters. Approaching. Confident. Her father's voice in her head. "Violence is never the answer, Maya. Never." Her grandfather's voice. "Killing, for any reason, takes your soul." her own voice quieter. "But what about 35 men?" She pulled the trigger. The recoil shocked her. The rifle slammed into her shoulder, causing her to stumble backward from the pain. The round went high, over the lead fighter's head. "Damn it," Maya muttered. The enemy fighters scattered, seeking cover, unsure where she was. Maya aimed again. Lower this time. Fired again. Missed. Left side. Concrete fragments exploded beside the enemy position. "Doc, keep pulling that trigger," Garcia shouted from behind her. "Don't let them get close." Maya fired a third shot, fourth, fifth, all misses. The enemy was moving. They knew where the aid station was now. They were returning fire. Rounds impacted around the firing port, sending fragments into the bunker. Maya pulled back, searched for a new magazine, didn't know how to change it. "Here!" Garcia hobbled over, took the rifle, changed the magazine professionally. "Doc, breathe. Don't jerk the trigger. Squeeze it and expect the recoil. Push into it." Maya nodded, took the rifle back, moved to a different firing port. The enemy fighters were advancing. 30 meters now, raising AK-47s. One threw something, a grenade. The grenade hit the exterior wall and bounced back toward the enemy position, detonating among their own fighters. 2 enemies went down screaming, wounded. Maya used the pause in advancement. Through her sight, she saw one fighter lying still, wounded from the grenade, alive but not moving. She aimed at him, breathed, remembered Garcia's advice. Push into the recoil. Fired. The fighter didn't twitch. Hit. Maya froze. The reality of what she'd just done. She'd shot a human being. Maybe killed him. A person. "Doc, 2 more!" Garcia yelled. Maya forced herself, shut off the emotions, found the next target. Second shot. Miss. Third shot. Hit. Enemy fighter dropped. Fourth shot. Hit. Another one down. She was learning. Fast. Learning how the recoil felt, how to squeeze the trigger, how to breathe. But her hands still carried the weight of sin. The next 18 minutes were the longest and shortest of Maya Brennan's life. The enemy came in waves. First assault repelled. Maya and the 2 wounded rangers who could find weapons. Garcia and Specialist James Kingston, who had a broken arm but could fire with his good hand. Second wave, more organized. 6 fighters coordinated, using cover. Maya dropped 3. Garcia got 2. Kingston shot the last. Third wave was worst. 10 fighters, suppressive fire, attempting to fire an RPG at the aid station door. Maya shot the RPG gunner as he raised the weapon. The rocket detonated in place, taking out the gunner and 2 nearby fighters. Fourth wave, fifth, sixth. Maya stopped counting. Just fired. Reloaded. Fired again. Each shot became slightly easier. Each kill felt slightly less. That terrified her. "What am I becoming?" she thought. "Doc, movement left," Kingston shouted. Maya turned, fired, enemy fighter dropped. In 15 minutes, Maya Brennan killed 19 people. Garcia shot 4, Kingston 3. Total 26 enemies trying to breach the aid station, 26 dead. And the enemy kept coming. Maya had her last magazine, 30 rounds. Garcia was out. Kingston had 2 rounds left. "Doc," Garcia said quietly, "if they come." "They won't," Maya interrupted. But she wasn't sure. Then she heard the most beautiful sound. American voices shouting tactical commands. Automatic weapons fire from new positions. The QRF arrived and was engaging the enemy fighters from behind. The assault on the aid station collapsed. Enemy fighters found themselves caught between Maya's defense and the QRF's attack. The QRF's firepower was overwhelming. M4S M249 machine guns, precision fire cutting through enemy positions. The firefight lasted another 60 seconds, then ended abruptly as surviving enemy fighters broke contact and fled. The silence was shocking. The aid station door opened. First Lieutenant Daniel Cross entered, weapon ready. Professionally clearing the bunker, he stopped when he saw Maya standing there holding an empty rifle, surrounded by wounded Rangers and scattered brass casings. The floor was littered with magazines, medical supplies that had been used as barricades, and evidence of a desperate defense that had somehow succeeded. Specialist Brennan. Sir. Are you injured? Maya looked at herself. Blood on her uniform, none of it hers. All from patients she'd treated. Dust and debris from near-miss explosions. Hands shaking now that adrenaline was fading. No, sir, I'm fine. My patients? Your patients are secure. We've retaken the firebase. Casualties were heavy, but could have been catastrophic if the aid station had fallen. Lieutenant Cross looked around the bunker at the evidence of fierce defense. The wounded Rangers who'd fought alongside their medic. His expression was somewhere between impressed and confused. You held this position against sustained assault. Is that accurate? We held the position, sir. These Rangers fought hard. These Rangers are wounded and shouldn't have been able to fight at all. Cross's expression was between impressed and bewildered. I need to understand what happened here. Start from when the assault began. Maya walked him through it. Staff Sergeant Yates leaving. Enemy fighters approaching. The decision to engage. 18 minutes of defensive combat that killed or wounded 23 enemy fighters and held a position that should have fallen. When she finished, Lieutenant Cross was quiet for a moment. Specialist, you're a medic. Not even a combat medic, a conscientious objector medic. You have no weapon training. Where did you learn to shoot like that? I didn't learn, sir. I learned today. Cross's eyebrows raised. You learned today. First shot was today, sir. First 20 rounds missed. Then, I adapted. Lieutenant Cross looked at Garcia. Is she really doing what she's saying? Garcia leaned on his crutches. Sir, Doc Brennan shot at least 19 enemy fighters that I could see, with zero weapon training. First 20 shots missed, then, God, I don't know. She started picking up muscle memory or something. 10 minutes later, she was shooting accurately. And doing something I've never seen, Kingston added. After each kill, she'd pause for seconds, just freeze, then move to the next target. It wasn't just combat. It was something else. Cross nodded slowly. I'm putting you in for a commendation, Specialist. What you did today was extraordinary. Sir, I just did my job. No, Cross corrected. Your job is medical care. What you did today went far beyond duty requirements. You saved 35 lives through combat action while wounded men fought alongside you. That's valor, Specialist. Maya looked at the rifle, still foreign to her hand, still felt wrong. Sir, I killed 23 people, maybe more. I spent every day of my life training to save people. And today, her voice broke. Cross's expression softened. Brennan, listen to me. They were the attackers. They were trying to kill wounded men. You defended yourself and patients who couldn't fight. That's not evil. That's necessity. Maya nodded, but her eyes didn't believe it. The after-action reports describing the Firebase Khe Sanh assault characterized it as a near-catastrophic enemy success turned into a defensive victory through multiple factors, with particular emphasis on the aid station defense that prevented enemy forces from killing or capturing 35 wounded Americans and securing a key position. Specialist Maya Brennan would be awarded the Bronze Star for valor in combat. The citation was carefully worded to emphasize defense of wounded personnel rather than aggressive combat action, acknowledging that medics engaging in sustained firefights created doctrinal complications while recognizing that exceptional circumstances required exceptional actions. Maya tried to refuse the medal. Sir, I can't accept this, she told Colonel William Thorne, the Firebase commander. Specialist Brennan, this is an honor. You can't refuse it. Sir, I did everything against every moral belief I have, every religious value. I killed people. It doesn't feel like something to reward. Thorne looked at her for a long moment. Brennan, I understand the situation forced you into being a reluctant warrior. I can see the cost to you. But when you fired, you didn't just save yourself. You saved 35 other lives. Exactly what a medic is supposed to do. The method was different. The result was the same. The method matters, sir. I was a lifesaver. Now, what have I become? You're still a lifesaver, Thorne said, calm. It's just that sometimes the way to save lives is through taking others. That's how the world works. That's how war works. You didn't choose it. It was imposed. Maya nodded, but her eyes were still lost. The medal ceremony was quiet. Colonel Thorne pinned the Bronze Star to Maya's uniform. The wounded Rangers, Garcia, Kingston, and 33 other men Maya had saved that day, applauded. Maya tried to hold back tears. After the ceremony, Garcia approached on his crutches. Doc, you shouldn't be down. You saved us. I killed 19 people, Tommy. 19 people who were trying to kill us. I still killed them. I joined as a medic because I'd never have to kill. And now, she stopped. Every time I look at my hands, I see them. Garcia was quiet for a moment. Doc, I know it's heavy, but I want you to know, every man here, every person on this fire base is alive because you did something you never wanted to do. That's something we'll never forget. You may not see yourself as a hero, but we do. Maya couldn't hold back the tears. Garcia hugged her. Then Kingston came. Then others. 35 men thanking Maya Brennan for the lives they owed her and trying to understand why it felt like a weight to her. Maya completed her deployment, returned home, and went to medical school. The Army paid as promised. She specialized in emergency medicine, saving hundreds of lives over her career. But Firebase Khe Sanh remained her defining moment. The Rangers remembered. Garcia, Kingston, and the 33 others stayed in touch for years. Each one credited her with saving their lives through combat action when they were most vulnerable. Years after retirement, Maya finally spoke in an interview. People call me a hero. I don't feel like one. What I did that day was against everything I believed. But if I hadn't done it, 35 men would have died. And for living men, any belief was worth breaking. But it changed me forever. The interviewer asked, would you make the same choice again? Maya hesitated, then nodded. Yes. God forgive me. Yes, because those men deserve to live. And if the cost is my soul, then so be it. But they live. Firebase Khe Sanh calls that road Brennan's Stand. 18 minutes, 23 enemies, one woman who'd never fired a weapon, with no training, only desperation and determination to protect 35 wounded men. 3 months later, the fire base was attacked again. The enemy completely avoided the aid station. They'd learned that the medical bunker was defended by someone who shot back with devastating effectiveness. Doc, they're scared of you, Garcia said after. They're training fighters to avoid you. I'm a medic, Maya replied quietly. I'm supposed to heal, not terrify. You terrified the ones who tried to kill us. That's enough. Her story spread through the Ranger community. The medic, who never touched a weapon, then saved 35 lives in 18 minutes. Doc Brennan, who broke every belief to protect her patients. Some call her a hero. She calls it the worst day of her life, but she'd do it again. Thanks for watching. Every woman has a story worth telling.